for joining me again for another night of Facebook Live. It is indeed a blessing to be here with you tonight. And I also want to recognize those that join me on the replay from YouTube and or SoundCloud. I am your host, Tricia Bray Smith, author, educator, and public speaker. I appreciate you tuning in with me tonight, as tonight I will try not to hold you long. Tonight our topic is just stop. Just stop. And as you are logging on with me tonight, please go ahead and like and share this video so that others from your timeline can also enjoy in the discussion as well. Also, feel free to engage by leaving me a comment as time goes on tonight. So tonight, my topic is just stop. And it is just what I've been saying as I stroll through the social media platforms and as I stroll through the television channels today, as I took a little breather away from the computer and from work to try to wind down. Hey, Shirley, just stop. That is my message for tonight. Just stop. And what I am saying when I say just stop, what I am saying is there are people that are letting their voices be heard, as they have every right to. They have every right to let their voice be heard, whatever their opinion is, whatever their perception is, whatever their biases are. They have a right to speak. Now, where I want us to stop is trying to dictate and pick apart everything that they say. How childish is that? How foolish is that? And just like you have your opinion and your right to say what you want to say, so does everybody else on this planet. Now, I get here every night. Since March 25th, I've been here every night except for one night due to the internet server being down. Hello, Diane. Thanks for joining me. And every night, you mean to tell me that you've agreed with everything I've had to say? And I know that many of my topics and some of the things that I've said has been controversial. And I know that it has gone against what we traditionally think. But I said it. I said it because it was the way I felt. I said it because that was my perception of whatever it was that I was talking about. Now, does that to say that you're going to sit and pick apart and dissect everything I say just because it doesn't go along with your beliefs? So this is where we have to stop, guys. Because where we should be looking when people are speaking, where we should be having our mindset is dictating and predicting and perceiving who people are. And then once we know who they are, then we can decide how we're going to move forward from there. We can decide if this is somebody I need to connect myself with, or if it's somebody that I need to kind of move and straight to the other side and try to avoid. But to dictate and try to pick apart everything somebody says, I can't think of any one person that has something to say that I'm going to agree with and go along with all the time. And that we're going to have all our point of views the same. So we're just going to agree to disagree, right? Don't pick apart and dissect the things that I say. Take what I say, think about it, sit in it, and then if it works for you, it works. You expand your perception. But if it doesn't, We talked about duck skin before. So things that people say, whether it appears racist, whether it appears backwards, whatever. I don't have time to sit and dissect and pull it apart and try to figure out what they are and where they stand. Because one thing about me, when people show me who they are through the words that they speak and the behaviors that they show, I believe them. I don't have to pick apart and be condescending and throw it up in their face. You know what the people do that listen to me on this platform and they don't agree with what I say, or they don't agree with how I say it, or they have a question, or they have a problem with what I say? You know what they do? They contact me. Now, what they have to say when they contact me, it is what it is. We'll agree to disagree. But I'm not going to backpedal because what I say or what I believe is different than you. I'm not going to judge you because we have two different point of views. Now, do I form a thought? You betcha. But is it necessary for me to tell you what I think just because I formed the thought of something you said that you didn't agree with? Because it opposes my point of view? No. It just means that we have two different perceptions. We have two different life experiences. And I probably think you have some growing to do. Because I'm one of those that think I'm always right. So I think you small-minded. But guys, whatever people say and however they feel about whatever topic or whatever subject, can we just stop the madness? Can we just agree to disagree that no matter who we are, we're not going to agree with everybody 100% of the time? That's the way I feel. I know that you guys that are watching me right now, and I don't know how many of you are. I just know I've had two people check in with me and say hello. And I just want to say hello back to you. But even with these two people here that said hello to me, they've known me pretty well. We don't agree all the time about the same thing all the time. And they're more vocal than I am. But it doesn't mean that I won't form an opinion or form a thought behind something that is said. Doesn't mean that if they say something and I don't agree that we have to fall out about it because I don't agree the same way they did. So why are we doing this? Why are we bickering? Why are we bickering with one another? Because I think that it's gone far beyond any race. I think it's gone far beyond any political parties. And I also, hey Karen, how are you? Thanks for being here. I think it's even gone beyond any demographic or socioeconomic status. I think this thing, we have been so foolish in how we're handling things that we're just making an excuse to disagree with somebody. And I don't, hey, Kathy, how are you? Thanks for joining me. It's the first time I've known you've been there. Glad you're here. So when are we going to stop? I'm going to make a shirt. And you guys know I'm always here. When I sit in front of you, I'm wearing my own brand. So I'm going to make a shirt that says, just stop. Just stop. Nike said just do it. Well, I ain't supporting Nike right now. I'm picky about where my money's going. So, and Nike won't get it. I'd rather send my own to college. Okay? So I'm going to make a shirt that says just stop in support of tonight's video. So when you see it and people get to breaking down and trying to dissect everything somebody else is saying, I won't even have to say anything. My shirt's just going to say it all. Just stop. So how are we handling the situation? Oh, I'm glad it's not your first, Kathy. I'm glad, baby. And I'm glad you're reaching out and engaging with me tonight. Because tonight, I didn't want to hold you guys long. I just want the madness to stop. Why we can't agree to disagree? You must be in a situation. I can't imagine what my household would look like if every time someone in my household said something that I didn't agree with, that I had to nag back at them and dissect everything that they said. Can you imagine the frustration and the intensity that would arise very quickly in our households if we did that? Just nag about everything. And I think that we have nagged so long. I think that tempers have gotten and flared up so high that we don't even know what the real issue is anymore. It's just like a husband and wife nagging over the toothpaste. And it's not even about the toothpaste anymore. We've nagged about it so long that we don't even know where the root problem is. And so, guys, I encourage you guys to not get caught up in the things that you see surfing through social media, whether somebody putting up a racist post or saying something that you don't agree with. If you don't agree with it, if you don't give it any attention, it will probably disappear pretty quick. But no, what we do, since we love the confusion, we see a post like that and we want to dissect everybody that's commenting on it. That's not our place, guys. Did you know confusion is going to give life to confusion? And do you know confusion breeds more confusion? And the more you fuel that confusion, it's going to create more confusion. And before long, it has our mind, and we're just drawn to that. So I would hate to think that you come to my platform night after night after night to be confused. And if you're on my platform every night and you are confused, then I'm not doing my job. Because my job is to educate you. My job is to empower you. My job is to encourage you. And the only way I can do that is by sharing with you how to eliminate this type of stuff from infiltrating our minds, guys. This is where we get all those perceptions. These are where our experiences are coming from. It's coming from the things that we look at through this little device. It's coming from the things that we are surfing through that tube that hangs on our wall or sitting on the table in our living room or in our bedrooms. It comes from this little thing that we pick up and hold to our ear and have a conversation. These are where our experiences are coming from. It comes from the people that entertain us day after day. So we can't get so caught up in trying to dissect everything that everybody is saying that we become so confused and immersed in a situation and in a war and in a fight or trying to take sides on something that we don't even know where it's coming from. Karen says she stays confused most of the time these days. And that is so true. But it's because we're so bombarded by everybody's opinion. Have you guys ever noticed, for those of you that know me personally, when I'm in a room or around people and there are conversations going forward that doesn't concern me, do you ever notice my behavior or my demeanor? Very seldom will I get involved in whatever that conversation is. And if I do get involved, depending on how far out the conversation is going, I'll probably change the subject. What does that do? It begins to shift the mindset. So we have to be careful of the mess and the confusion that people bring to us. We have to always protect our minds, because these minds are so vulnerable, especially nowadays when we don't know what to believe in light of COVID and everything else that they tell us about what's going on. We even got to the point to where we're trying to dictate when they tell us someone has died or something. We're trying to dictate, is that really how they died, or whatever like that. I don't have time for all that. What I do know is that people are dying. What I do know is that people are spending money. What I do know is that people cannot get along. What I do know is that people in leadership are dropping the ball right now. These are the things that I know. I don't have to have an opinion on that. I don't have to dissect that. Because when they open their mouths to draw us in, they show us at that point exactly who they are. When people speak, regardless of what you think of them, they show you who they are. And if it's not consistent, if they have to backpedal, if they have to backtrack, if they have to be condescending, if they have to manipulate, if they have to do all of these things to protect their image, then you don't have to guess whether or not they are what you already perceive that they are. And one thing I like to know is, why are you going to argue with a fool? Why are you going to argue with a liar? Why would you argue with someone who you perceive to be racist? Why are you going to argue with somebody who can't even stand on their own words? Why do that? Does it make much sense at the end of the day? Probably not. Because at the end of the day, you're still going to have your opinion. They're still going to have theirs. You're bothered by it, and they're sleeping at night. Because who they are is who they are, and they don't need us to try to dictate it and try to break it apart. Would you say not, Kathy? So, I mean, guys, we just have to be real with this thing. Let us try to be better. How about that? Let us try to come together. Let us try to build a support team, and let us try to encourage one another. How about we start there first? How about we try to start loving each other? Start with just the ones we have around us. Because when we can do that for one another, none of the other stuff really matters. But if we can't protect this little mind of ours, and we fall victim to everything that they show us, and then everything that they turn around and tell us after they done shown it to us, to try to cover it up with lies and whatever else, you know, we can't keep going like this. We can't. Because people are living in fear. They're confused. They don't know what to believe. But all I'm going to say is, when you open your mouth and I hear the words that are coming from your mouth, and when I see your demeanor, and when I see that you can't stand firm on whatever it is that you said, you have already showed me who you are. So it's no need for me to try to dictate anything you got to say and try to pick it apart and try to label you and say you are whichever you are. Because whatever you are, if you open your mouth long enough, you're going to tell off on yourself. And just because people think that they are better, or because their race is better, or that their race is superior or whatever, doesn't mean that they're racist necessarily. That just means that's what they believe. Don't you also have a belief? Don't you also believe that you're somebody? And don't you believe that your culture also is superior? So if Black Lives Matter does not White Lives Matter or Asian Lives Matter, why we gotta play games with one another? Why we have to do that? We all matter at the end of the day. And yes, we know we all matter. But if somebody wants to say Black Lives Matter, then it doesn't need our opinion or our perception or our comments on that. It just does not. It just means that they're letting their voice be heard. Would we divide a community by trying to pick people's words apart? Or would we divide a community just because you vote Democrat and I vote Republican? How much sense does this make, people, really? Our Creator gave us a free will and a free way of thinking. He didn't make us robots. And so if I feel like I'm better at a certain area than somebody else, so be it. That's just the way I feel. Now, I know by far I am not the best educator in Oklahoma. Let's just look at Hugo. Let's just look at little old Hugo where I'm at. I'm not the best educator. But what I do, can't nobody do it better than me. And it doesn't make a difference if you're black, if you're white, if you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, if you're American Indian, whatever you are. Nobody does what I do better than me. So how are you going to pick that apart? And yes, I said it. And yes, I'll stand on it. And if you ask me tomorrow, I'm going to feel the same way. If you ask me next week, I'm still going to feel the same way. Nobody can do what I do better than me. Why? Because it's mine. It's what I do. Nobody has the knowledge that I have. Nobody has the creativity that I have. No one has the mindset that I have. So how are you going to pick that apart? Does that mean that you can't form an opinion because of something I said? No. You can have your opinion. Can we discuss it? Yes, we can. But at the end of the day, am I going to change my mind? I think not. So do you see how people's opinion are theirs? How they think, they're free to think however they choose to. But we cannot continue to fight a fight and dictate when we have lost sight on what the real issues really are. We can't keep doing it, guys. We're driving ourselves nuts. And when it comes time to make a decision, we're not going to be able to make decisions because we're so bombarded with all this stuff and trying to pick things apart that we can't make a sound decision. We can't have sound thoughts. We're operating on fear. We're operating on frustration. We're operating out anger. I can't think of any time that I've been angry or frustrated that I was able to think clearly and speak with a sound mind or a sound voice, and to be able to stand on that without regretting what I said because of the way I spoke it out. You got to believe in yourself and believe that you are doing right. That's right. One thing I'm not going to be doing is running around here trying to follow everything and follow everybody just because I like you and you said it. I'm just going to go along with it. And now that's one thing that I don't do. And I don't encourage you guys to do that either. We go around here and we follow all these preachers and teachers and doctrines and all this kind of stuff. We follow it just because whoever in leadership and we like them and we go along with whatever they say and we can't even dictate and think for ourselves. Did you know that if you follow somebody that closely, that you hang on every word that they say. They can only lead you as far as they know. So when they hit that brick wall and can't go and grow any farther, you're hitting that wall with them. So I always encourage you guys, even as you sit here and you listen to me night after night, as I come here and sit with you guys and have these conversations with you, don't follow me so close that you stumble and fall over me. Because the people that I learn from and that the books that I read and the things that I listen to, I'm a student of learning. So that means I'm going to follow you and study you and listen at what you got to say and look at your opinions on things. And I'm going to form my own perceptions at the end of the day. I'm not going to follow you so close that I'm blind and that I begin to take on your nature and your way of thinking, because your way of thinking sometimes can be twisted. So don't follow me or anybody else so close that you can't even form your own opinion. I stand on the side of being a student. I've never seen a teacher that I felt like was so great that they was beyond reproach or beyond correction or beyond making a mistake. I've never followed a preacher so close that I couldn't see when they were making a mistake or were saying something to manipulate people or trying to control them. Because if you listen to people long enough, you're going to hear exactly what they think on whatever topic it is. And a lot of times, we as leaders are in position of influence. We're sharing what we hate, and we're sharing our biases with people that are following us. And those people begin to take on that nature because, oh, she must be right or he must be right, because they're in that position. Well, I'm here to tell you guys, you'll never have to dictate and pull apart what I say, because if I say it, I believe it to be true for me. But what I want for you to do as a student of this platform is to look at it, sit in it, and then form your own opinion. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to manipulate you or fall out with you just because you don't feel or that you don't see things the same way that I do. Why do you think so many people are against the President of the United States? He shows you exactly who he is every time you see him on a platform and he opens his mouth. So why you need to dissect that? Why would you need to consume your thoughts and your mind and your body into that all day long? Stuck to it on the television. When you see him across the screen, don't you know what's finna be said? Don't you know the behaviors that's finna show up? And who cares what he is? Who cares if he's supremacy? Who cares if he's racist? Who cares if he's biased? Who cares if he's a Republican or whatever it is that he is? Who cares? Where we need to be concerned is, what are we? And what are we going to do about it? Because for every racist that you can label or that you can find, you have that many more in your own circle. So are we going to fight hate with hate? And when we fight hate with hate, is it going to breed hate? So we know that those weapons don't work. So if we're going to try to overcome something such as racism or such as hatred, whatever it is, we can't fight it using the same thing that we're fighting against. So let's just stop. And when y'all see me on the street and y'all see my shirt that says just stop, enough said. I appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. I am your host, Tricia Bray Smith, author, educator, and public speaker. I'll see you again here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Good night, everybody.